just in Wednesday, and then I was looking at reading what I
Next time.
not even from my own kids.
Wait, the sergeant's together.
Oh, yeah. Aiden, Sergeant.
Really?
Yes.
Aiden,
Aiden, yeah, Aiden.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, May 27th. Let the record reflect that all elected and appointed board members, with the exception of Isaac Huddy, are here, as are our 2 student reps, and Isaac's absence is excused. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda, Dan?
There's no changes or additions, with the exception of adding 15 minutes executive session to discuss collective bargaining.
Okay. Student achievements.
This is a very favorite part of our meeting, nothing like getting it started off on the right foot, so we've got lots of them. I'll start at the high school. Sultan High School Rotary Student of the Month for March is Ashley Chavez and Cameron Skeeth. I know Cameron's here. Cameron? For the month of April, Rotary Student of the Month for the month of April is Gabriela Yepes Suarez. Are you here, Gabriela? Nope.
Gabriella, no, she's not.
Give her a big hand. 4 students that are graduates of the Pathfinder Manufacturing Program, seniors, Harley Gwilt, Tristan Weber, Joss Hendrickson, and Tayden Pownall. That's a really cool achievement for the 4 of you guys. Let's give them a big hand. April Turk of the Month, Mr. Tillman Murphy. Good job, Tillman. Sultan Middle School. Special shout out to the Sultan Middle School Band. Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, the Skyhawk Marching Band traveled to Wenatchee to participate in the Apple Blossom Parade. The weather was gorgeous. Drum majors Ezreal Cookson and Ava Porter led the marching band through the streets while the band played Louie Louie. Omri Eakin, Colton Persky, Oliver Haynes, William Loudenslager, Ivan Martinez, Veronica Torres, Abadil Ortiz, Jesus Mariquez, and Jensen Nielsen rocked out on their drums for Louie Louie and played their drumline feature. Storm, great job. All of the Skyhawks have participated this year. Are any of you here?
Yay!
Excellent
It was
job.
awesome.
Okay, Sultan Elementary School, a special shout out to Mr. Phoenix Armitage Selig. He is part of our chess club and one of the main reasons we got it up and running this year. On Saturday, April 26, 2025, one of our talented first graders, Phoenix, competed in the Washington State Chess Championship in Tacoma, and he did amazing. He won 4 out of 5 games or matches, earning 5th place out of 80 qualifying first graders. Phoenix is a proud member of the SES Chess Club. We can't wait to see how he continues to grow and shine. Way to go, Phoenix. I got one more. Gold Bar Elementary School, April's character trait for GBE is problem solving. We'd like to recognize Carson Hubble, who is a 5th grader at GBE who demonstrates problem solving skills every day. He has a great collaborative relationship with his teacher to set up his day for success. He knows what needs to be done, he knows what he needs and works well with adults and peers throughout the day to give himself the opportunity to do his very best self. He also has daily conversations with the school counselor and to support the staff as he manages the challenges of fifth grade academically and socially. Great job, Carson, for knowing what you need and working every day to get it. Problem solved. Great job, Carson. For all of the students that are here, let's have a group picture up in front of the board. I'll stand back.
Here, buddy.
Careful, Marianne. Do you want to go on that side or this side? Looks like we're on this side.
Come on,
Come on,
Cameron.
Cameron.
Come on.
Come on.
I'll be back then.
You're a student for another week or two. Come on.
Bella.
Your hair looks great. You want a picture?
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it, thanks guys.
Good job, you guys.
Went to the high school.
A lot better than mine, Bella, that's for sure.
All right, congratulations to all of those students, that's awesome. Board, we had no questions asked at the last board meeting. We do have one person that would like to speak today. So some reminders, the total time allowed is 30 minutes. Each speaker has a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment period is the only time that the public is recognized to speak. This is not a time for dialogue between the board and the public, but rather an opportunity for the board to listen to individuals on educational issues, and board members are encouraged to listen attentively. The board chair or superintendent might ask a speaker a clarifying question or respond to a specific comment. If you have a specific question or issue that you would like the district to follow up on, please let us know. Someone will contact you within 72 hours. Finally, please remember that your words have impact and you, not the school district, are responsible for your words. We ask that you help us model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. And we have Jeff Estes. You are our speaker for today. Michaela, you want to start the timer? Thank you.
I'm a little rusty doing this. It's been a while. Hopefully I won't run over 3 minutes. Greetings, school board and administration. I appreciate the opportunity to publicly comment tonight. My name is Jeff Estes. I'm a resident of Stardom. If anyone needs to know, this is my little intent to try to be humorous here. I identify as transparent. My pronouns are who and what. I respect the school board and empathize with your responsibility to student achievement. Test scores and academic outcomes continue to show there's room for improvement. Advancing students onward and upward when they're not ready is kind of shortchanging them of their educational experience. So I feel compelled to ask a few questions and make a few comments tonight. Are we teaching critical thinking or critical consciousness? Remember that, love is natural and hate is unfortunately taught. And why should identity be more important than merit? Are we replacing blind justice with social justice? As an avid tutor, I've observed and reflected on academics and the workplace environment. I've commented many times at board meetings offering advice and suggestions. The AVID program itself accomplishes better academic outcomes in students and should be supported and expanded. I find it frustrating at times working with students who cannot spell, pronounce words, or use correct grammar due to past district curriculum choices. I'm hopeful and hearing that the U-Fly program is being used more. Remember, feedback here isn't personal. Embracing criticism can become a toxic environment if that is the only feedback expected. I recall hearing at the last board meeting that the school district is paying slightly more for brand new certified. But it's paying well below for classified when compared to other school districts. Are there plans to address this? I've noticed a few times that available job postings are made for positions that are or were currently held. Yet no notice, no internal memo, it's not shared amongst the staff. So would it not be better to inform district staff rather than hearing it through the gossip line or social media? You can't have a new reality with an old mentality. As a member of the Mental Health Advisory Committee, it has been gratifying to see and be involved with change and improvements for staff, students, and families here at the district. The Mental Health Advisory Committee has supported the EAP, Care Solace, and the updated suicide prevention plan. More recently, the Mental Health Advisory Committee provided some healthy goodies at all 4 schools with their own personal funding. It would be nice to see the Mental Health Advisory Committee recognized and acknowledged by the school district. I've also noticed in my time at the middle school, stressors, not only in students, but also in staff. And I'd be more than willing to share those observations to anyone who would like to listen. Bosses sometimes take credit. Leaders give credit. I've stated before that many certified employees would forego a salary increase if their working conditions and environment was improved. If your employer is buying your services, should you go the extra mile and give away freebies? Should you give 100% when 80% is enough?
Jeff, I hate to jump in, but your 3 minutes is up. I got notification
I've got
on
like 30
here, so-
seconds left.
Okay, hurry.
If you take care of your employees, they will take care of your business. This may be my last board meeting seeing Superintendent Dan Chaplick and Dan Baller before they leave, and I'm sure they'd agree I've been a thorn in their sides in the past. And the opportunity to blast on them tonight is not lost on me. However, I choose to take the high road, bless their hearts, wish them the best in their future endeavors. I respect the school board, empathize with your responsibility to student learning in these times. Be eager to check with other districts what's working and what's not. I hope you continue to challenge the status quo, raise your expectations, and provide future generations of Sultan School District the best educational experience available. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, consent agenda. Does anyone have comments or questions on the consent agenda? Michael?
No.
Mike?
No.
Marianne? No. Ladies? Cameron, Bella? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Just get through. Any committee or association reports? Nope, okay. Student voice, Cameron and Bella?
Okay, that's us. Hi, I'm Cameron Skeeth. I'm a senior at Sultan High School.
And I'm Isabella Webb, and I'm a junior at Sultan High School.
Some things we have to talk about. For right now, our sports is kind of going on. So we have some people going to state right now. So for, you have the names on there. So this last week, Fenna Grunewald actually went to state for girls golf, which we have not had in a good chunk of time. So really happy for her. And then for track, we found out that Avery Sargent, Aiden Sargent, Ben Dillinger, and Aiden Swanson are competing Thursday and Saturday at state for track. And then
And then for this week, Post-it leaves for Anatomy Nationals in Vegas this Thursday. We're very excited for that. We had prom last weekend at Starp Event Center. It went really well, and we have a spring formal this Friday for those who couldn't make it to prom because they have like sports, like softball to game that day. And it's a fundraiser for softball, so it'll be very cool.
And lastly, so at the high school, you all heard the student of the month, but us students also wanted to recognize our staff. So at the high school, we also have a staff of the month, and for staff of the month for April was Miss Lupin. So kind of big congratulations to her.
Yeah.
And kind of right now, as things are kind of dialing, seniors are kind of building up, getting everything kind of done for the school year, as we have our last 12 days now, I think, technically for us seniors. So
You're
things
not
are kind of
counting or anything, but
nope,
yeah.
not one bit. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on at the high school right now. Things are kind of coming to an end for us.
Great, thanks ladies. Dan, any community report items you want to share?
Yeah, graduation is Saturday, June 14th, 2025, 2 p.m. at the stadium. That's the second year having moved away from a 6 p.m. start, so 2 p.m. will be that. Last day of school is a half day, June 17th, 2025. We moved it out 2 days. This has been on the books for a while due to snow days. Then the summer kickoff, June 17th, 2025, 5 to 7 p.m. Can you pull that flyer up, Kayla, just to show everybody? First and Main Street in Sultan, bouncy houses, activities, food truck and more, just as a way to get the summer kicked off.
Thank you. All right, Mike Marin is excused absence. Is Paul here? Is Dr. Douglas here?
Paul was engaged in assistant principal interviews, and so we've talked to the counselors, and I think you guys are ready to go.
Okay.
Paul's part.
You guys
I
are up.
apologize, I only checked in with half of you, but I know of your guys' quality, and so if it goes wrong, I'll take responsibility, but it will not.
Okay, so we had this divvied up and Paul had a section to read, so I'm gonna talk about his part unofficially, so forgive me if it's not as eloquent as he would say, but you know. So Senate Bill 5030, so a comprehensive school counseling program. So this is an act relating to developing comprehensive school counseling programs. So a brief summary of the bill is it requires school districts to develop and implement a written plan for comprehensive school counseling programs by the beginning of 22-23 school year. Requires school counselors to implement the plan and spend at least 80% of their work time providing direct and indirect student services. So the purpose of the bill is to get school districts on board with the plan so we can balance out our time with students 80% of our work time providing direct and indirect services to students. And the plan kind of defines that pretty well too. So school counselors develop and lead comprehensive guidance and counseling programs that focus on the academic, career, personal, and social needs of all students. Along with school psychologists and school social workers, school counselors are involved in a multi-tiered system of support for academic and behavioral skills. Together, this group also focuses on student mental health with at-risk and marginalized students, performing risk assessments, collaborating with mental health professionals to promote student achievement and create a safe learning environment. State law encourages, where possible, responsibilities such as data input and tracking to be handled by non-licensed, non-certified staff to provide time for counselors to prioritize activities requiring direct student contact. All right.
Okay. If you don't know me, my name's Hannah Proctor. I'm the school counselor at Sultan Elementary. My part is just kind of explaining an overview of what a comprehensive school counseling program is. It's a requirement from OSPI like we just talked about, but more importantly, it's just a comprehensive approach that keeps us accountable. It's proactive and student-centered and ensures that all students receive the support they need to thrive academically, socially, emotionally, and planning for their future. So it's split into 4 categories: define, deliver, manage, and assess. That comes from the ASCA national model. ASCA is American School Counseling Association, which is a nationally recognized research-based model for effective school counseling. So I will briefly define what all those 4 components are, and then Jenny and McKenna will actually go through this plan, so don't worry about that yet. But define, this outlines the role of the school counselor and establishes what a comprehensive data-driven program should look like. It helps ensure that the counseling services provided are clearly focused and equitable for all students, so it gives us a direction, so we're not just doing whatever intervention, whatever. Deliver, this is the heart of what we do. It includes both direct and indirect services, so direct like classroom lessons, small group counseling, individual student planning, indirect being collaboration with families and staff and community partners, as well as our program planning. Manage, this component focuses on organizing and aligning the counseling program with school goals using tools like annual agreements or meetings, and then use of time analysis to make sure that we are hitting that 80-20 direct to indirect service. And then it ensures that the program is intentional, efficient, and accountable. And then assess, this is how we actually ensure that our interventions in our program are are working for the goals that we've defined. So this looks like analyzing data, collecting feedback, making improvements based on student outcomes, and it ensures that our work is evidence-based and always improving. So they will run through kind of what our current CSCP looks like. Do you have a part first and then?
Yeah, let me do one more quick one here. So we asked ourselves why this is important to us. Why do we care about this so much? And I'll read what we came up with. The comprehensive school counseling model is essential for school counselors because it provides a structured and proactive framework that supports the academic, social, emotional, and career development of all students. Rather than reacting to student issues as they arise, this model encourages counselors to take a preventative approach by delivering a well-rounded program that reaches every student. It ensures that counseling services are aligned with the school's mission and educational goals, which helps maximize student success in all areas of development. This model also promotes equity and access by making sure every student, regardless of background or ability, receives the support they need. Through classroom lessons, small group interventions, and individual counseling, school counselors are able to address a wide range of student needs in a consistent and measurable way. It helps reduce barriers to learning by identifying and responding to factors such as mental health concerns, family challenges, or academic struggles. Moreover, the comprehensive model strengthens the counselor's role within the school community. It highlights the importance of a data-driven decision-making, collaboration with stakeholders, and continuous improvement of services. This not only enhances the visibility and accountability of the counseling program, but also allows school counselors to advocate more effectively for students and for their professional role. Ultimately, the model ensures that school counselors are not working in isolation, but an integral part of a student-centered educational team.
Hi, my name is McKenna Matheson. I'm the school counselor at Sultan Middle School, and I'll be going over the define and manage components of our school counseling program. Scroll up to that so that everybody can view. Awesome. Great. So the way that we define our school counseling program is by using 3 different approaches. We use a supportive approach, which is ensuring that all students at our schools feel valuable, heard, so they're able to have to foster resilience and be confident in their learning. We also use an inclusive approach, so we ensure that all students of all different backgrounds have the ability to be successful. And then a comprehensive approach by using a holistic, data-driven counseling program to ensure that we are integrating academic planning, career exploration, and social emotional learning. We also use the ASCA mindset and behavior student standards to ensure that we could you scroll down just a little bit in the next one too? And the ASCA professional standards to ensure that we have clear guidelines and we're establishing best practices throughout all of our teachings. And then to manage our program, we use all these different data points, which we have labeled with the different domains that they are part of, and those are the academic, career, and social, emotional, and personal domains. And for our use of time, like Dave talked about, we use the 80-20 model, so 80% of our school counseling program time should be used for direct and indirect services for students. The other 20% of our time should be used for things like program planning and school support. All right, and then we also use an annual calendar. That includes all school counseling events for the community to see, to ensure that teachers, parents, and other stakeholders understand what's going on within our community for school counseling, and we have attached an example from the high school for this school year.
All right, so speaking of the high school, I'm Jenny Peterson. I'm one of the counselors at the high school, and I'm going to be talking about the delivery and the assessment piece. As you've heard a few times, we look at this through direct student services and indirect, which should together encompass about 80% of our time. The other 20%, of course, is should be program planning. So this gives some examples of direct services, which might vary from school to school because it's gonna look a little different at elementary level with more classroom-based instruction versus in a high school, we do go into classes, but we do a lot of one-on-one appointments. Indirect services could be those meetings that we have when we have a student we're concerned about, parent phone calls, collaboration or referring students to other resources. And program planning, a couple examples when we're preparing our classroom presentations, want to make sure that we have good information to share with students. And group lessons also take a little bit of planning time. At the high school, we actually created FAFSA appointments for each student if they needed financial aid support. So just setting that up alone for all of the seniors at the high school took a few hours. So it's those kinds of things that kind of fall into that 20% program planning. And then we do have some other references from ASCA on the school counseling program model, as well as what they would consider at the national level and the state level appropriate school activities for school counselors and inappropriate, meaning that, for example, school counselors are not going to supervise at lunchtime, and there's a list of activities that are actually on the last page here. So, and finally, the last part is assessment. We want to know what we're doing is actually making a difference and that we are reaching students where they need to be. And so one thing that we do at the high school is we use grade level surveys to check in with students at the beginning of every school year to look at what their needs are, their goals, and their interests, so we can actually work with them more collectively to get that information that they need. And then we actually track the survey data over the 4 years to make sure that as it's changing, we're kind of monitoring that so we can, again, try and tailor a lot of our interventions to what they are saying that they need. So that's one way that we can assess whether it's effective or not. The last page kind of has a little bit more information about performance appraisals. So they're looking for evidence of data-informed goals and interventions. So we're not, again, I think you said this, we're not just trying things just to try it. We want to know that it's actually going to help students and it's intentional. And then we want our calendars to reflect that we are using our time appropriately and that there is some accountability. And then again, we're going to look at results data from classroom or small group activities, and I mentioned like surveys is another good way to get that information. So those are some of the examples of ways that we will continue assessing our program. Underneath that are a list of resources with links to just staff members that work at OSPI that have been instrumental in helping us learn all of this information, resources, professional development we're interested in, and the very bottom is what I was talking about with non-counseling duties that are referenced by ASCA and WASCA. So that kind of wraps up our plan overall, I think.
No,
Do
it
you have
does.
any
Thank you. Does anyone have
further?
questions? Cameron or Bella? Marianne? Mike?
No.
Michael?
No questions.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Dave Moon, you are up. It's a tough act to follow there.
It's my time to shine. And it is a tough act to follow. Well, first, I'm gonna challenge that little first grader to a chess match next week. That's gonna happen. Yep. I don't mind beating down the little kids, so sometimes they just need to take down stuff. Thank you guys tonight. This is great technology. If you guys haven't seen our building, this is our building sitting on the middle school campus.
Love it.
Isn't that great? Taylor's mom's the one who actually painted that for us
Yes.
one year. And it was to
Nice.
celebrate the 20th year of the existence of the technology department. And we kept it up there. My favorite slide right here. This is the technology department, just so you guys know. Julie Gress is our admin assistant, and also she does a ton of the data work in the district. Betty Peterson's one of our techs. David Hawkinson is one of our techs. Taylor Ramsey's here. He's one of our techs. Carissa Kelly, she's our technology integration specialist for about this much of the day when we can squeeze her away. Myself. We also have tech ambassadors. So tech ambassadors are these staff members that we have identified in each building that have kind of excelled and embraced the technology in the district. And we lean on them a little bit to help out their fellow employees, their fellow teachers and staff members. Phenomenal program. I'm so happy with it. This year, it's been a little bit different because we haven't had Bree, and Bree was a major coach for that, and unfortunately Chris just doesn't have the time for that, but she does what she can, which is amazing. Super Friends, our Super Friends are a few classified staff members that have just a little bit of time at the end of the day, and we pay them to come and help us do some stuff. Right now, we only have 2 Super Friends, and they're averaging an hour or 2 a week. But it helps, every little bit helps. And then student techs, I always have student techs. They're fantastic to have around, and Taylor was a student tech, Benny was a student tech, so they kind of stick around for a while, even after they graduate. And then our summer students, I always hire 3 to 5, sometimes 6 students, depending on the workload that we have during the summer. Okay, so this is our department's motto. So we're committed to promotion, integration, utilization of technology in the classroom. So everything we do, every question we get asked, we kind of frame this around it, and how can we accomplish this? Okay, so most of you guys are new, so I thought I would kind of just dive in, just kind of, this is the district, this is technology in the district. So so you might know some of this, you might not, so we're just gonna kind of throw it all out there. We are a one-to-one district, one-to-one laptop district. We have changed some things a little bit. K through 8 laptops stay at school. 9 through 12 go back and forth between school and home. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later on a different slide. For the K through 8, we do have a lending program in all the libraries. So if a student needs a laptop to take home for homework, it's always available for them. We'll never say no. We also have this Keeper Laptop program. When somebody wants to donate technology to the district, we make it very clear to them that we don't want it, we want to give it away to families. And they always say yes, and we slap a sticker on it that said this technology was donated by a community member or a business in the community. And then if somebody comes to us or comes to a counselor and says they need a laptop at home, we provide them with one. They're not great, they're not amazing, but they get the job done. A lot of families at home don't have laptops anymore. We are a Windows district. I get asked that a lot, Chromebook or Windows. Back in the day when we had to make that decision at that tipping point, the board and I had a conversation about the philosophy around it, and the board felt it was really important for students to leave school with a skill around technology that they'll actually use in the workforce. So that's tipped us towards the Windows district. I fully support that. There's a little bit extra work involved in it, but I think we give the kids a good experience. Right, guys? Yeah, okay. And this is cool. So I'm gonna let Taylor talk about this for a quick second. Go, Taylor.
True recycling is reusing. We have friends in the public and private sectors. We've got donations from many different companies and parts of the government. And sometimes they're in rough shape, sometimes they're in good shape, and we will repurpose them. And even like, we'll even repurpose things within district, within districts. So let's say a teacher comes here for 1 year, uses their keyboard and mouse. We'll repurpose that for a different keyboard, a different teacher. We're not gonna get brand new accessories, lightly used accessories for every new staff member. So we reuse and recycle. We do recycle, but if you look at our cardboard box of recycling stuff, it's really old stuff. It's not cutting edge. So yeah.
Okay. And our district used to run off recycled gear for years and years and years and years. So it's kind of ingrained in our usage. So a little bit of stuff about our infrastructure. So all of our campuses are 100% wireless, and we have a very robust wireless. We did all of our testing this year on wireless. It's pretty much amazing. COVID brought us Wi-Fi on the buses, so we do have Wi-Fi on all of our school buses. All of our classrooms are smart classrooms, maybe, you wanna talk about this one?
Yeah, so we have interactive panels, so the big TVs, they interact so you can touch them, you can slide over. That's very helpful. We have document cameras that we can attach to them. And then those are the two main ones.
Yeah, Wi-Fi in every classroom. We do have printers in every classroom. Some districts embrace that, some do not. In the long run, we did a cost analysis. It's actually a little bit cheaper to have the printers in the classrooms. So we maintain those.
And we let students connect to those. And so we only give them a little bit of money, but if they're like, I can't print this, I need more money, it's pretty easy to go to the library and say, can we add a couple more dollars? So it does actually save a lot, I think. And they don't have enough money, so they can't print out pictures of their friends to post around the school. I mean, they could, but maybe like 2.
Yeah, they don't get to do a lot of it. And this is kind of interesting, I'm just throwing this in there, our next replacement cycle for teacher computers will actually be teacher laptops, so they'll go to 100% mobile. Good stewards of our funding. So I'm gonna let Taylor talk about this one again, he was excited to talk about this one.
We research and focus on cost and longevity. Everything has to be consistent, you know. One teacher that sits in one classroom has to have the same computer at a different school and a different room in another. That's for parts, that's for maintaining. And you know, in order, sometimes they're out of production, we can't get it new. Or we get it on eBay. eBay's great if we need like, you know, very specific items, just to keep it consistent, because they're good items. You know, and the items I'm talking about are a lot of things. Phones, printers,
access points, everything,
Every-
everything tech.
yeah, everything that plugs in. You know, we might get it used if we wanna get it consistent. Longevity is very important because let's say, okay, other districts, they get Chromebooks. They're very low powerful. I call them grocery store laptops because you get them at a grocery store. But you get what did happen was you know, they're good for word processing and stuff, and let's say COVID happened, you couldn't Zoom on them. They weren't powerful enough. So you have to look, you know, 4 years in advance. You can't just look at, oh, okay, it's good for right now. You have to look at 4 years in advance in repairability.
Good, Taylor, great. Total cost of ownership's a big consideration when we're looking at new equipment to purchase. So I feel very strongly about spending our taxpayer monies wisely. Okay, so what we do, here's what technology does. We do everything. If you think about it, a school district's really an enterprise environment. Most Fortune 500 companies probably don't have 3,500 laptops and computers running around, you know, but they have giant staffs to handle all of that. So it's kind of impressive what we can pull off, what other school districts pull off even with the resources that they have. So of course, we're responsible for tech support. This is one that we take very seriously, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, online safety and student staff privacy. We've all seen it, you know, even PowerSchool had a data breach. We manage a fleet of nearly 3,000 laptops and desktops. Even though we only have 2,100 students, we still have a loaner fleet that we have to manage. We have computer labs that we have to manage. Every staff member has a computer and a laptop right now, et cetera. Our infrastructure is vast, miles and miles and miles of cabling running through the district. And most of it was pulled by myself and an older guy named Doug Irwin that retired many years ago. We manage, you know, server farms all over the district, tons of storage firewalls, you know, online Azure, which is like your Outlook and Teams and things like that, and just countless numbers of applications. Technology manages the phone system.
We manage our security system. People are surprised about how many cameras we have. We get, you know, if there's an incident, we got it. Clocks and intercoms. You know, everything's gotta be on time. That's our responsibility. we're technology interpreters. Someone comes to us with an issue, you know, sometimes it's very basic, but it could actually be a very advanced issue and they don't know. They don't know that's an advanced issue. We'll have to we'll have to research it and come to them with the latest technology and the best solution that's applicable to them. And we have to explain it in a way that makes sense. Because not everyone speaks the same, it's called jargon. You know, not everyone speaks the same word, you know, same same language, same specifications, you know, they don't understand it. So we're interpreters, we have simple solutions to complex issues. If it needs internet, we own it or support it. That even comes down to like TVs. We've had smart TVs take down the whole network of a particular room. You know, and we've had to track that down. Who thinks of a TV? You know, that just, you know, it does get online. It you know, we have to think of those things. So.
And this is a huge one. We have a phenomenal relationship with operations. If it wasn't for that relationship, we wouldn't be able to put in security cameras at a drop of a hat when you guys need it. We wouldn't be able to ask Charlie to go and replace a clock or an intercom here so we can get it up and working. If it wasn't for this two-way street, our district would be kind of dysfunctional in some areas. Okay, a couple big wins in the last year or so. We instituted single sign-on for all our staff. You guys know about that. That's that multi-factor, or that's same password for everything. So ClassLink, PowerSchool, all that sort of stuff. There's still a few things to get done, but we're getting there. We've been doomsday prepping a little bit. So it's one of my biggest fears. It was actually one of my goals this year with Dan, is to be more ready for if a bad thing happens, we get compromised somehow. So we've made some great steps with doomsday prepping. So we have a robust backup system now in place that we didn't have before. We have multi-factor authentication that we didn't have before. Stuff like that. Go Taylor.
Oops. This is the STEM portable at the high school. It's actually 2 rooms. And over the summer, we upgraded their computers to stay competitive in the STEM market for our school. And it has, they're really fast computers, and it has the latest software. It has Windows 11 and, you know, the full Adobe suite and others. And kids are really liking it. And I personally really liked this project because the computers we took out of there were the computers and the same teachers as when I attended there and I graduated in 2019, 2020. So, you know, they needed an upgrade. And that came out of CTE funds. So that's a big one for today. Not today, this year.
This year.
Upgrade of our backbone to 10 gigabit fiber. We got Fat Beam using E-rate funds. They were actually very competitive pricing compared to what we had before. And they actually took physical glass fibers, little cables, and put it in between all of the buildings. Most of it's underground, but some of it's on the telephone cables to get to Gold Bar. And these glass wires are 10 times, well, they're probably 100 times faster in the future because they're glass. But right now, they're 10 times faster than what we have right now. So all of our buildings talk to each other way faster than before. This can have effects of centralizing. You know, we don't have to have a server farm at every single building. We can centralize it here because they talk to everyone instantly. It's the speed of light. So that's a huge win, and we'll have some complicated changes in the background, but to the end user, simple upgrades. You know, things are just gonna work way faster and not go down.
So one thing he did mention is that our 10 gigabit fiber backbone is actually cheaper than what we were paying for our 1 gigabit Comcast backbone, so that's kind of neat. I call this still a big win. We are making progress in our cybersecurity journey. That's the multi-factor authentication. We launched an anti-phishing campaign. I think you guys have all seen it, that little fish button, fish ER button in your Outlook now. That gives you the ability to report phishing attempts. It also sends out a few fake phishing attempts to see who clicks on it, who our clickers are. Dan has not made the list yet, so bravo.
Dave and I talk about the list frequently.
We do, we absolutely do. He asks, am I on that list yet? No.
So there's a district, pretty big one, that got held hostage to start this school year. The only way out of it is you pay a ransom. It's really, just an unfortunate reality that's going on out there. I probably have on a weekly basis half a dozen emails that are somebody that's trying to mask a invoice or make something look authentic so that I click into it.
And you guys know this, technology's, there's no field changing faster than technology. So I love it, the fact that my guys are always improving their skill set, always working on it. I mean, hundreds of hours of PD my guys did last year. It's pretty impressive. And then I like to say the SBA went really great this year. I think any tech issues, Taylor was gonna talk about this, but I'm gonna talk about it. Any tech issues were not tech issues, they were configuration issues, maybe a little training issues, maybe user errors, a lot of user errors. But I think our technology is sound and they'll probably our third year without any tech problems.
Real quick before he goes on, one win that I think that these guys are doing amazing is I had an Avid student who does Snow Isle for computer programming, and he wanted to make, I don't know, something more advanced than I understand, but like they had to build from scratch this thing that reads recipes and that kind of stuff, and they had a $50 budget from Snow Isle. Anything after that, they had to pay out of their own pockets, and I'm like, this is a very big thing. So I was like, you know what? Send Dave Moon an email and see, like, they have all sorts of stuff down there. I go down there, I don't even know what half those little gadgets are. And I go, just email him and see if there's anything that he can borrow. And these two especially got on and made a whole list of, here are things that we can donate to you so you don't have to spend out of pocket. So and Taylor even was like, I have some better ideas of how they can improve this. And so I appreciated the fast response to students and the willingness to help students, even though it's not something necessarily for our high school, but it's our high school student to do this amazing thing that he's invested in. So I appreciate it, and I felt like that's a win, is they're always willing to help students.
Well, thanks, I appreciate that. And it was amazing, this kid it was cool, it was really cool. It was a recipe, an electronic recipe book that talks to you. It was pretty cool. Okay, so what's E-rate? We apply for E-rate every single year. There's two categories for E-rate. Category 1 is all the pieces that you need to get onto the internet. This is a yearly cycle. We do have to apply for it every single year. We've never been denied it. I don't ever anticipate us being denied it. But it's what pays for our fiber between the buses, the service between the buildings, the service for the buses, our telephones, things like that. Just the connection piece doesn't pay for the physical equipment of any of that stuff. Category 2 is everything that's inside the building, everything that connects us together, Wi-Fi, physical wires, the networking switches, that's some of the switches that you see in there, our firewalls. The way this works is it's a 5-year funding cycle. You do have to apply for it, and there is a spending cap. It's a formula based upon how many students you have. And you have a 5-year window to spend that money. I always try to butt my 5-year window up against another 5-year window, so we can really utilize our money and spend down what we have left over, spend what we need from our new pot, and then the next year spend down what we have left over, spend from our new pot. So it actually works out pretty well. We are an 80% match district, so we only spend 20% out of our pocket. So this year is the last year for a 5-year cycle, and then so next year's the start of a new cycle. This year we're gonna upgrade all of our closets. We already went out to bid for it and got it. $280,000 upgrade is costing us $56,000. which is pretty neat. And then next year, we're gonna upgrade our wireless infrastructure again. Okay, levy update, here we go. Again, thank you for the voters, this is amazing. With the board support, Dan's support, and our voters' support, we got our first technology levy in 2018. Started spending money probably the day the final vote was tallied, but funding didn't start until 2019. We definitely were borrowing to get things off the ground. The current levy right now, we are 25 cents of the 95 cents that's being collected. And our first levy was 50 cents, and that was to get us caught up, to get our classes modernized, to get our network modernized, and just to get us caught up where we are. The 25 cents that you have right now pays for 3 columns. We call them 3 columns. So we have our infrastructure stuff, so that's normally our share of E-rate. We have our classroom supports, which is everything that makes a classroom a smart classroom, and then professional development. And that's in the form of Carissa. That's in the form of classes that we put on in-house, and then we have sponsored a few classes here or there. Everything that we do, we run through our technology advisory committee. Every penny we spend, the technology advisory committee is aware of it, and we get them to sign off on it. The levy funds 3 positions. One is the data specialist and technology department support. That's Julie. So she's kind of the data manager. It's pretty big shoes to fill. A computer technician. That's going to be the Taylor. And then technology integration specialist and our tech ambassadors. And then also any professional development. We also buy student laptops from that. That's under the classroom supports. We try to buy 3 grades per year. So they're on a 4-year cycle. And then a 5th and a 6th year for our loaner fleet. Prices have climbed so much since just the last levy. We're only doing about 2.5 grade levels now because we just don't have the capacity for it. But we're figuring it out. We're gonna make it work. And then licensing, we don't pay for all of our district licensing. We pay for specific stuff that we promised to the voters. We promised them a learning management system. We promised them some tools like the Microsoft tools, the Adobe Suite, some STEM stuff. And then it pays under the infrastructure, it pays for the Category 2 E-rate, not Category 1, that's just a normal phone bill. And then it funds our classroom equipment replacement fund. So every year we put away a little bit of money so that way we don't have a giant bill when we have to replace all the TVs or all the printers or all the laptops. I love this. So our history, so we started doing a 1-to-1 back in 2010, probably before a lot of other schools, but we did it with used equipment, and we did it in a way that it was pretty cool. Teachers basically had a server that they could manage, and they could see all the kids that are on their server, and it was cool. It was pretty cool. It was groundbreaking. At one point in time, we had the largest deployment in the world of this technology per Microsoft. It was something that they came and helped us set up, and we were a bragging site for them. So we have been 1-to-1. So every single kid has had a computer since 2016. The 2010, it was like shared classroom carts. In the levy in 2020, we went 100% 1-to-1. Mike, I think maybe you were on the board at this point in time when we had a 4-year rollout to go 1-to-1 with students. And because of COVID, we accelerated that rollout and leased enough computers and purchased enough computers to just do it all at one shot, so everybody had a computer. Our previous solution didn't work off campus. It was a 100% on-campus solution. So now, the recent changes. So we have changed some things. Prior to now, 5 through 8 were take-homes. We've had challenges with keeping our equipment in working shape. So working with the middle school and the elementary school principals, we've changed it to 5 to 8 are now stay at school. Both of those buildings, all 3 of those buildings have a fleet of homework laptops that are available. Students can just go into the library, check one out, and they can do homework at home. Our breakage rate has plummeted. So I think we've had a total of 12 broken laptops this year from those grade levels. versus
Closing
hundreds.
pencils in them and stuff.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
This is not a Sultan issue, this is many districts, especially at the middle school level, that were one-to-one take home. We're like, no, we're not doing that again because kids get bored and then they start to tinker and then no more working computers, so.
Picking keys off.
Yeah, a lot of school districts went back to, they have to stay at school.
Yeah, Snohomish is changing theirs to 5th through 8th are staying at school. And I think Monroe is too, that's one of our neighbors. 9 through 12 are still take home, the high schoolers are much more responsible with the technology. Good job, guys. Okay, priorities in the coming year, cybersecurity, we're not even close to done. This was one of my goals, we're not even close to done, there's lots of things that we still need to do. We need to address the phishing, it's still out of control, even though we did one thing, there's still much more that we can do. Student MFA, multi-factor authentication, we have to get some type of student multi-factor authentication in place. Sorry guys, you're gonna hate this, but you're gonna have to like type in a 4-digit PIN or something. Because every single one of our compromised accounts is a student account. And daily, it's happening daily, it's bad.
Which also helps them get ready for college, cause all colleges have the multi-factor, whether it's the Microsoft one or Duo or
Yeah,
it's common.
Yeah, it's so common. Student privacy, this is an ongoing one. But we have a problem with rogue software, so I really wanna spend next year tracking down the rogue software. This is where a teacher will try out a piece of software, put all kinds of personal information into that piece of software, try it for a week, and then never use it again, or didn't get permission in the first place to use it, things like that. We have a software sprawl issue. Dan and I have worked on this a little bit, and we need to work on it more, and it's where we have multiple pieces of software that could accomplish everything with one piece of software. So we're gonna work on that. Unauthorized hardware in the district. This speaks to the rogue software. People will go out and just buy a printer, put it in their classroom, or the TV, like Taylor mentioned earlier, that TV that brought down our whole network because somebody plugged in a smart TV. And it just brought down the whole network, wasted hours of our time trying to track it down. So I'd really like to get a process in place for hardware approval. Windows 11 update, Microsoft said we have to do it, so that's gonna be a big rollout for us. And our network infrastructure upgrade with E-rate, that's happening this summer. I'm gonna use student labor for that, so that's gonna be fantastic. Need a job, you two?
I'm okay.
The job, that's posted right now.
Sorry, I'm gonna be gone.
And then I'd like to work on this. I mentioned this to Dan, Chris, and Gigi. I'd really like to figure out a way for our seniors to be able to purchase their laptops when they graduate. Chris chimed in and said Mount Vernon has a policy on that, so we know it's doable. And Charlie's researching some of the surplus laws on that right now. How great would that be that they can spend $40 and walk out the door with a working piece of technology?
Just a comment on the unauthorized hardware, that's been one that we've talked about a lot, really haven't done a lot about. Just so you know, right now, the unauthorized hardware is $22,000 per year in electricity to go, which I don't know what you would have thought without knowing that. And some of it we've said, is that really the place to have a battle? At the same time, there's things that happen. And so you've gotta kind of corral what is gonna be allowed and what's not gonna be allowed.
I want to also bring up the subject with you guys about re-examining our laptop protection program. We allow parents to purchase laptop, can't call it insurance, protection for $25 on the laptops. Our participation rate's under 10%, and it does not cover the cost of repairs. Our repair bills are always way more than what we collect in laptop insurance. So maybe a laptop fee. I know fee is a bad word, and I hate fees, but if we could get anything to build up a little bit of pot of money to pay for repairs, in the long run, our laptops should be getting cheaper because we won't have to pay for accidental damage insurance on the laptops. So our costs will start coming down, and then hopefully this fund could be self-contained, self-funding. I'd even be happy with, $10, maybe even $5, just get something to start building up a pot of money to pay for some of these repairs. And then the idea would be a student can get an accidental breakage maybe every couple years, maybe every year, maybe every school building that they're in. We'll, come up with the details looking at the numbers. But there's so many accidents out there, the kids just accidentally break their laptop, no fault of their own at all, and I hit them with a $125 bill. And it's horrible. I hate doing it. Now the ones that break them on purpose, I don't mind at all. Okay, that was it. That was the overview of the technology department. Any questions?
Thank you for that. That was great. A lot of.
It was long. I practiced it. It was only like 11 minutes, and I know I went way longer than 11 minutes.
You guys never present, so we give you grace this time. So, Michael, any questions or comments?
I'd love to see something about password health, maybe even, working in a password manager, there's some
Oh my
open source
gosh.
and free ones out there. My daughter uses the same password for everything and it drives me nuts.
It drives me nuts too. A couple things about that. One security thing that we implemented that I got laughed at 12 years ago for doing it, and we've been doing it for 12 years. You can only change your password while you're on campus. Prevents hijacking. 100% prevents hijacking. And now everybody's doing it.
Sure.
So that's fantastic. And then we do have a single sign-on tool called ClassLink that does allow you to, it'll even generate a password for you. So you can have different passwords on everything, but this one item, which has to be MFA, can store all your passwords for you.
What are you planning to do for MFA for students that don't have a phone?
I'm thinking there's a way to where you can just have them have to type in a PIN.
Huh?
So it pops up, they type in their password, and then it pops up and says, what's your PIN?
And then use the same pin every time.
Yeah, so
Better
just
than
make
nothing.
it short and sweet. Yeah, exactly, better than nothing. Because 99.9% of those guys are just gonna move on.
Yep. Thank you.
Mike?
No questions. Great job.
Marianne?
Thank you. You guys, as always, do a fantastic job keeping the district up and running.
But you guys make it easy for us, you really do. I appreciate all the support that the board has always given us. And Dan gives me just tremendous support. If I come to him with something, let's make it happen.
Cameron, Bella, anything?
I really like the part where you mentioned seniors can buy the laptop.
Yeah.
I think that's so useful, especially for ones like going off to college and they like don't have a laptop. They will
If you,
They're expensive, so.
they are. We do have some keepers, so if you guys know anybody that's gonna have a struggle when they get to college, have them reach out to me, and we probably have a couple dozen keepers right now. So, and cleanup day's coming, and we collect a ton of laptops on cleanup day, so those are even more keepers.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Chris.
Yeah.
Taylor, thank you.
Sorry, I hit my computer.
Chris Hill.
You were Felix, the junior? He's the one who bit it.
We were in geometry and he just saw her laptop and it crashed.
Yeah. I will never forget it, because I remember turning around, making eye contact with me, bite it, look at me, and turn around. And I'm like, am I just my computer.
Well, good evening. I'm Chris Hill, I'm the athletic director. I want to thank our technology department also, before I talk about uniform rotation. The technology team, they come and do the timing for our track meets, which is, they're a lifesaver. At my previous schools, we had to hire timing people to come, and then, so you're always in competition to get your meets turned in as soon as possible so that you get the date you want, because every school uses the same 2 or 3 companies to do them all. So we're lucky. All I have to do is let Dave Moon know, hey, we're gonna have a track meet this Thursday or whatever it is, and they're there and they get it done, and they're real easy to work with. I have not had a chance this year where my coach gets in a fight with timing people, so that's really good. In my past, I had to deal with a coach and timing people yelling at each other, and it was a lot of fun. So I haven't had to do that. So I do want to thank them and let you know how helpful they are to us too. So I've been tasked with working on a uniform rotation. And so what I did was I looked at a couple different companies, BSN, Cloud9 Sports, and then specifically Nike and Adidas and Under Armour, and found what the medium price would be for uniforms. I looked at what's really expensive and then what the cheaper thing is, and I've ordered both of those over the years, and obviously that expensive one is really nice, but the really cheap ones don't last, and so we want things to last. So what I did was I came up with a 3-year rotation and a 4-year rotation. And I think you guys all got the spreadsheets too. More specifically, we would look at doing a 4-year rotation, not necessarily a 3-year rotation. There are schools that do the 3-year, but as you can see, it gets a lot more expensive to do that. With the 4-year rotation, it guarantees that every kid will get to wear a new uniform at some point in their high school career, and that's important. We want our kids to excel and be successful in athletics, and part of that is if you look good, you're not always going to play good, but there's a better chance of it. When kids realize that we believe in them and we're going to put money into them, they're going to have a better chance of taking pride in what they're doing. So when you look at the spreadsheet that I've come up with, so if you look at the 25, 26 column, and I'm just going to look at the 4-year rotation one, you can see that first year it would be football or high school football, and then high school volleyball, middle school girls and boys cross country, middle school girls and boys soccer. And so the way I came up with those, I looked at who has gotten uniforms most recently. But the biggest thing I looked at is how can we put different uniforms or different programs together to keep the cost as close to the same each year. So if you look at the very bottom of each column there, and the first 4 years would be, by the end of that, every team would have their new uniform. I found a way to make it to where each year it would be around $20,000. Well, over $20,000, but it wouldn't exceed $21,000. And the way I came up with that number is you look at what the cost is for that uniform. So like for middle school soccer, I listed what their uniform is. There's the jersey and the shorts. And then if you go all the way over to the right, there's the uniforms. That's how many uniforms that we would need. So I looked at our numbers of how many kids participated in each sport this year, and obviously put some more uniforms to that, because you always order extra, and we hope to grow and have more kids participate. And then there are certain sports like volleyball and basketball where there's a set number of varsity uniforms that you would need. That's set by how many players can be on your state tournament team. So if it's volleyball, you can have 14. You cannot have any more on the court or on the bench or anything like that. So those sports are a little easier. But if you look at like football, it's 50 uniforms, and you multiply that by the 250, and that's where you get the 12,500. And so if you add those sports together in that column and how many uniforms they would need, that's where you come up with that approximately 20,000. For instance, with that first year, it'd be 20,980. So if you look at that, it's close to what the coaches have been asking for. It's less than what they've been asking for. As opposed to if you look at the 3-year rotation, it's obviously a lot different. The numbers, the lowest number is going to be 26,740. So you're looking around $7,000 more per year if you go that route. So what I've seen most schools do, it used to be most schools were doing either 5 or 7 year rotations. Most schools have gone to either a 3 or 4 year rotation. The schools I've been at, the one I just redid all this at Mount Si last year. We went to a 4-year rotation so that we could make sure every kid got a new uniform every year or by the end of their career. My previous schools, we actually did a 7 at one of them and a 5 at the other. The problem with those is you do start to get your uniform they get pretty beat up, especially when you're talking about like a football or a baseball or softball where they're in dirt, they're in mud, they're getting tackled, all those great things that they do, and they don't last that long. So if you're looking at 7-year rotation, your uniforms look really bad by the end of that, and it doesn't work real well, especially with football where not only do you get dirt and stuff, but they get torn and they get to where they're just unusable. So anyway, that's what I've come up with. I know our coaches have a group of our coaches have worked with a committee. Dan Ballard has been there, part of that, and so is Paul. And so they've worked on some of this and talked about this at length. And so Gigi came talk to me after the last school board meeting, and we talked about putting together rotation, and this is what I came up with, and it's very similar to what other schools have done. It's very similar to what I did last year at Mount Si. It's at a little smaller scale because of less sports, but it's very similar to what I've done in the past.
For the high school football, is that home and away?
Yes.
And then is the committee talking about helmets and all of that extra stuff? Because this is uniforms.
The helmets are refurbished every year separately. We've been doing that for years. Recently, I don't know if the new rules around shoulder pads,
Yep, shoulder pads are part of that too.
they've been refurbished, but that hasn't always been the case. That's probably in the last 5 to 7 years.
2018 is
So
when
the-
that.
let's look at the football line there for a minute. It says jersey and pants. The $250 is for both home and away?
That would be for one, so that,
Okay, that's what I thought, just for one. And
But
so
then the total cost, you have 50 uniforms, is that 25 kids or is that 50 kids?
it's 50.
I think they just bought in 23 or 22, one of the sets of
One of them,
uniforms.
yes. And, these numbers can be adjusted. There's gonna be some years where we don't have as many kids, there's gonna be years where we have more. One of the things that we talked about earlier this year was adding flag football for girls, which has just become a WI sport. So there is another, sport that we would need to get uniforms, and so we need to adjust some of these numbers.
So just for inflation purposes, et cetera, I presume you've just plugged these in, but we haven't put any kind of an inflation factor in them.
No, and when you look at this from an inflation perspective, it's about 3% that you have to look at. And so it does, after a couple of years, it definitely is, it's a big difference. And so that would be something we would need to look at the end of each cycle, really.
I mean, you could build a table with all of that calculated in, but
Oh,
this,
definitely.
from my opinion, is a good start. It's better than where we were, for sure.
And just in the last year, since I did this at Mount Si last year, the numbers have changed for uniforms. They have definitely gone up from what they were just a year ago.
I think it's a great start. I think that doing the rotation, it makes it fair for all of the sports. But we're interested to see the other items, the safety items that they were requesting.
And that's where I guess I would need to, maybe meet with Chris and talk a little more. Hip pads, knee pads, any of the pads were part of that, or what did you guys decide as far as what
We
was
didn't
safe?
decide anything. We said we wanted more information before we decided anything.
Cause helmets for sure.
I think all safety equipment should be covered by the district. I mean,
Yeah,
Hip, knee.
it's agreeing on what that is. I mean, some would say a
No one's
jersey is
presented
safety.
to us what they think that should be. So if we would need it to be, here's a list of everything that we think is
I
safety.
can put all that together tomorrow and send
That'd
that
be
to you.
Cause I think we all, Mary Ann, if you're in agreement, that the district should pay for the safety stuff.
Yeah.
and it shouldn't
So-
just be football, it should be for softball,
everybody.
it should be for baseball, it should be for,
So if it's
wherever
something's- yeah.
safety equipment is needed.
Well, that has been the case since 2016.
Okay.
The district has been doing that for almost 9 years.
Okay. Well-
But not only annual reconditioning, but purchasing of replacement safety equipment that ages out, whether it be helmet, whether it be shoulder pads.
Cause that's not really what was presented to us when football came to present to us, so.
I mean, I have one on my desk today for middle school helmets, about $2,600 for helmets that are aging out.
Helmets, yes, what about like?
The district will pay for that, that is a safety.
Pads
Wasn't
and,
there a sled, tackling sled?
Blocking sled's been done, we've done an
Yeah.
enclosure to the discus, we have done.
track, a
The
football
track, the
field,
football field,
wrestling
volleyball
mats.
standards.
well, we
wrestling
need a
mats.
list of everything that is safety, and we wanna make sure that we are covering all the safety stuff, is what I'm hearing from.
And I think the safety decision was made, like Dan said, probably 2016.
16, 17.
But it
But,
doesn't seem like
well,
that's not what we were told.
interpretation is different, I think, sometimes, but
That's what-
we're trying to.
Right, we would like a list of everything that's safety related.
It'd be good just to have, inventory. We know we have 50 helmets, and if the replacement schedule is every 5 years, or when they're damaged or they don't qualify. Out of 50, we replaced 10. That's the requirement, or whatever it's gonna be.
They said, when they send for the reconditioning, they'll get a report on the ones that cannot be reconditioned due to age out. And then we'll order replacements for those age.
Helmet's just one, but hip pads,
It
knee
seems like
pads.
that's 5,000 a year just for the high school,
Yeah.
at least.
Some years more than others, but yeah.
Headgear.
Every sport.
So then, Chris, you'll put together safety by
Yep.
sport?
Yep, I can do that.
Some of that's tied into Charlie's replacement report, even if it's not called a safety item.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
Should just be on a rotating schedule, it's time for them to be pulled and replaced.
Besides that, does anyone have questions or comments?
I guess the question I would have, since we had a presentation from football, moving forward from here, May the 27th, I think the request was for new uniforms. I'm not sure how far beyond new uniforms it went. Do you
So
recall?
what the coaches are asking for is for the district to cover these uniforms. They said that, and I wasn't here in 2022, I believe was the year, that they were promised $25,000 for uniforms, and they have not received that the past 2 years. And so that was one of the things that they really want to find out where we are with that, because our ASB is not bringing in enough money to do that.
So I think, Chris, here's how I remember it, right or wrong or indifferent, is that the board agreed when ASB was short to supplement it by 25,000.
It was 2 consecutive years.
Two
Mike was on
consecutive
board at
years.
that time. It was 2 consecutive years and it was not for a specific purpose.
But I don't
It was
remember a
essentially
uniform promise.
it
This
was
is a new thing.
Financial lifeline, basically, of $25,000 for 2 successive years, of which we did do that, but it has been 3 or 4 years since that has happened. That is a true statement, but no, it was not promised directly for any specific purpose. It was just purely a lump sum amount to be given to ASB.
Yeah, just promised ASB, how I remember.
Can we pull that up in old minutes, just to, because I do think that there's a miscommunication about that. I think that they believe that they're getting $25,000 a year from what I hear. And from my memory, it was ASB is short, because I was on the board for one of those years at least. I think that, and here's 25,000 because we don't have a lot of money. And I don't remember it being for a specific purpose either.
Mhm.
So we need to address that.
So Chris, just a question.
Yeah.
You may not know, do all the other sports fundraise to help supplement any of the uniforms or anything like that?
Some have, yeah.
Sports are required to fundraise for their jerseys and ASB. We've been required to fundraise for our jerseys, the students.
So I just participated in a golf fundraiser probably a month ago, whatever, and it raised $10,000.
For baseball.
It wasn't quite that much, but.
So what
Students are
sports, so every sport fundraises?
Yes, they have to.
Or they don't get it.
We don't, yeah.
So, with that said, does football fundraise?
They have,
They have.
Years past, right?
it's passed. They have, as far, off the top of my head, I don't believe they have this year, but in the past they
They
have.
do like a movie theater thing every year, but
Did they do that this year though?
I think they did it in August. That's about all I've done. Definitely don't fundraise as well as they could.
Jamboree is a fundraiser, isn't it? The Jamboree they do?
I would have to check, I don't.
It is, sort of.
I mean, the board deciding
It goes straight to.
here's the contribution that's fair. If you wanna go above that or do something beyond that, that's where that comes into play.
That's where I'm trying to get to. If you want beyond this, then it should be fundraised. So every sport should be able to do that.
There's a whole different learning that takes place when you have some of your own skin in it.
Well, so this 4-year rotation, this $20,000, what part of that would be fundraised?
So.
And what part of that would be a request from the district?
So if let's say we allotted, just look at one of them, $22.80 for cheer. If they went over $22.80, then they would need to fundraise the difference.
So we're saying the proposal, I guess, there's no action on this today.
This is just this is the baseline.
Right, this would be the baseline and anything over, so the district would cover for the first year, 21,000. And then anything above that,
So each team would be required though. So if, like I said, cheer did they did 3,000, they would owe, or they'd have to fundraise the 7,000.
700.
Or $700, $20. And they'd need to set up their fundraiser before they order the uniforms, because we don't want ASB.
fundraise every day.
Well,
They're
I'm just
always
saying in
fundraising,
general.
yeah.
Because we don't wanna see teams get in the red. That's been kind of a thing that we've seen this year with ASB, and they don't wanna see it, and they shouldn't see it, and it shouldn't happen that way. So there needs to be a plan of their fundraising, and that needs to be put into their budget that they turn in April every year. And that way we can tell them, no, you will not be able to get the uniforms because you are, this is the number you are at right now, and you don't have the money and you don't have it in your plan to fundraise to make up the difference, so.
So if they wanted to get Nike uniforms, they could fundraise the difference, which was being contributed to each sport. So I'm just saying, if volleyball wanted to go with a high grade uniform, this is the amount that you get, you have to cover the difference.
And that's exactly what we did at Mount Si.
Fair.
So can we see an action item for, here's the rotation schedule, and anything above this amount must be fundraised by each team.
Put it on the next business meeting.
Michael, what are you gonna say?
So are we trying to say the board's gonna fund this amount each year and anything above that, so they could do zero fundraising and still get new uniforms every 4 years?
Yes, they get the uniform that Chris talked about, but if they want to do extra above and beyond, if they wanted to have matching socks.
Yeah.
Everybody, they have to fundraise their
And prices
socks.
are gonna be higher than this, I imagine, so. I mean, cause either that, or we say, okay, here's the amount, we'll pay 80% of this amount. That's
Is
the
this
other
done in
option.
Excel?
Frankly, I like that a little better.
What's that?
I mean,
Is this done in
there
Excel?
was this whole,
Yeah.
some skin in the game.
Figure out an
there's no-
inflation factor, and let's program that in.
If there's zero obligation to put any work in for your own.
If we're gonna require athletes to pay for their jerseys, then they should be able to keep them kind of vibe.
No, not,
Absolutely,
not expect them to pay, but to
Fundraise.
fundraise.
Of course they fundraise, yeah, for their extra things, but at least to have a basic jersey would be wonderful for your athletes to have, just a basic jersey. It doesn't have to be something special or crazy.
This accomplishes that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't,
glad to bring that
I
back.
don't disagree that we should put the uniforms on the children that we want to be out there representing our district and our schools. I don't think that's a far cry. If they want to upgrade from there, if they want to have matching socks or like everybody wants to
Extras.
have bats or
Yeah.
headgear special, whatever it is, then they would have to pay for those items. They'd have to fundraise to get those items, but I think the
Fine with
basic
that.
necessity of covering, safety equipment and making sure that they are dressed sharply to go on to the field, the track, whatever it is, I think that we have that responsibility.
Mary Ann, are you okay with that?
Yeah, my kids all played sports and they had basic uniforms and I had to buy socks and shin guards and pads and mouth guards and it's kind of when you have a kid that plays sports, you know that you're buying some stuff.
The basic
Right.
necessity to play the sport kind of thing, having
Yeah.
a jersey, being able to have.
Spirit wear.
That's
Alright, so you guys will
extra.
come back
Yeah,
to
that's
us
what I'm
with that, and then we can,
And you want an action item on the June business meeting.
And Chris, can you also, and I'm sorry, but per sport, can you break down what the safety equipment would be for each sport?
Yep, that's what I was
That,
saying.
Yes.
so we would know,
Yep.
softball, they, helmets, face guard, whatever they're gonna have, or, track if they need certain safety gear,
Yes.
it'd be good to have that.
Sure.
alright, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Dan Ballard.
All right, directors, I know you have a lot still on your agenda, so I'll make this brief. As far as financial report for the 27th of May, our enrollment for the month of May, which is our next to last count month, we have month of June still to go. For the month, excuse me, we're 5.52 down from the prior month as far as traditional, and we're 0.42 down ALE. So we were just about 5.94 students fewer in total in May versus April. And then just some of the standard graphs that I give you on a monthly basis. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through that. Let's fast forward to. Let's get to the budget status reports, Kayla, for general fund. Next. There we go, perfect. So I'm required to present these to you each month. This is the budget status report for general fund for the month period ending April of 2025. $2,644,862.22 was the ending balance. Budget status for capital projects fund, $4,058,072.44. Budget status for our debt service fund, $126,930.16. We will have our debt payments coming up here on the 2nd of June, our semi-annual payments we do here next week. Budget status report for ASB, $236,207.53. Again, that is all 4 schools combined. And the budget status for transportation vehicle fund, $126,249.40. The proportionate share reports for salaries and benefits, we are right at proportionate share. Our amount for the year is right spot on where we had budgeted at this point. It is creeping up a little bit, but we're still right on schedule. Material supplies and operating costs, as I had mentioned before, I had predicted that this would cross the axes and go north. We had a huge accounts payable in the month of April at 1.45 million. So we're now 3% above proportionate share through the month of April, where we were below last month. So those lines are starting to bisect each other. And then if you take all objects, salaries, benefits, material supplies, and operating costs, we are 0.6% now above proportionate share through the month of April. Summertime can be, typically we see accounts payable go up during the summertime because Charlie has summer projects. Dave typically spends the lion's share of his budget in the last couple of months of the year, gearing up for the next year. And so forth, and then professional development, things like that. So summertime, just because there are not students here, doesn't mean that we're not still having needs to expend dollars during the summertime. That's just because there doesn't seem to be a lot of activity doesn't mean there isn't a lot going on. And then finally, the last one, as far as the fund balance, we did get a little bit more clarity. June as continues to be obviously the low month, but it's not as low for a couple of factors. We received out of the final budget for the legislature, they are going to be giving a one-time payment of $50 per FTE for material supplies and operating costs, and we determined that will be delivered in June. So that $105,000 was plopped into June, so that helped prop June up. In addition, the third and final compliance check for K3 class size, those dollars will also be delivered in June. That'll be about $80,000. So between the two of those, about $185,000 definitely helped prop us up to get us up to 235, where we were previously down very low. But those two one-time payments will help get June up a little bit further. Still very low, but rebounds nicely obviously in July and August, and we're looking now at about 2.3 million. So it's changed a little bit, gone down a little bit, but overall we're having more clarity now. And again, this obviously, things over there assumes again in August that we will get a $1 million award as far as safety net.
So a couple questions, Dan and I had an extensive conversation about this. And if you look at the proportionate share, that's the way we kind of monitor our own spending in different categories. One of the things that has skewed it a little bit is about $800,000 spending in special education that we didn't plan on.
Budget capacity was enhanced in special education by approximately $810,000, correct?
So there's plans that we applied for about $1 million in safety net, which is well above any number we've ever done. And some of that's attributed to having increased enrollment and the demands to serve kids. The second thing, though, that I think the more important thing is if I understood you correctly, my concern was, we're not outspending our revenue. We will be fine as far as our revenue goes.
Revenue streams have been coming in fairly close to anticipated amounts. You do have some variability. Department of Natural Resources can tend to be a little bit of a wild card sometimes. Your local resources, child nutrition can be a little bit of a wild card at times also too. But your state and federal revenues tend to be fairly stable.
But what you told me was, is you anticipate that we will be fine as far as we're not gonna overspend what we bring in.
The dollars that are here reflect the anticipated revenues and expenditures for the period of time, so.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, anyone? Michael?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, on to business. Approval of HOSA National Tournament overnight trip. We discussed this and approved the funding in the April 14th meeting. This is just to approve the final cost. And the packet was submitted with all the final details. So any questions on it? Okay, can I get a motion to approve HOSA, I can't even talk now, the HOSA National Tournament overnight trip?
A motion to approve the HOSA National Anatomy Tournament overnight trip.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain.
Opposed? Perfect. Next, approval of the F-200 budget extension resolution, and that's from the earlier budget hearing. Did anyone have any other questions that came up after that? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the F-200 budget extension resolution 2407?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Or abstain?
Abstain.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Discussion of Sky Valley Cooperative Facility Project.
This one's mine, right?
Yes, it is.
His name's on it, so.
So basically the project's coming to a close. We have a few items that we are still finishing up. One of is the EV charge station for the bus, and the pallet racking problem with the fire marshal and the system that we have. The workaround for the EV station is it's almost at its closure, and the pallet racking portion needs to be refigured. We will not probably be able to have the tall pallet racking that we currently have. We'll have to reduce the size of the rackings to be within the fire code for the sprinkler system we have. There's an upgrade available for the sprinkler system that ranges from $161,000 to $282,000, give or take, something like that. And depending on what they find, and that's also without external contractors for power and other stuff that might be needed for that. The secondary solution for that is to potentially purchase some 40-foot containers to store the items that don't need to be climate controlled out in a weather protected area on the property, and to be able to reduce our stacking in the warehouse so that we could still maintain the capacity to house all of the items that we do.
Okay. That's all I got for us. Thanks, Charlie. Approval of resolution 2409.
So Tex,
Tex.
who is our project manager for this facility, a couple of things I'll tie into here. when you saw Dave show the capital levy 25 cents to 95 cents, a big portion of that was to build this. This is now coming to a close. These are the steps you go through to accept the building. And then it will no longer be the taxpayers will not owe any money on it, and it'll be paid off. And so we want to introduce Tex to kind of walk us through that process. And while he's going up there, if this was a school that we were accepting, then the 30-year clock would start the minute the board accepted the building as being complete. But it's not, so.
Okay, so the first resolution is for simply that acceptance as complete. As Dan mentioned, OSPI requires formal action by the board. And the architect has confirmed, that he's in agreement with that. And so that one's pretty straightforward. Do you want me to go explain the other one too?
Sure, go ahead.
Yep. The other one is building commissioning. If you happen to have looked at the massive report in there, that basically just shows the tracking that was done by our commissioning agent that Charlie worked with the contractor on getting all the HVAC running, making sure everything checked out. That's a requirement that of OSPI. They actually funded either most of or all of that. I'm not sure, don't recall. And so that is all complete too. So those are 2 board resolutions required. The last other few little things were in the works of wrapping up. Paperwork to kind of be 100% wrapped up with OSPI.
Before we motion and vote, Michael, any questions?
No.
Mike?
No questions.
Mary Ann? No. Bella? No. Okay, Bella, advisory vote on the resolution 2409. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2409?
Motion to approve resolution 2409.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All
And
right,
just a final thing is, once the EV station is done, the project will finish $6,000 under budget.
nice. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 24-10?
Motion to approve 24-10.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Can I point out that 2409 and 2410 show held this 28th day of April 2025?
That was when it was first supposed to be on the agenda.
Okay.
Yes. Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Tex.
All right, first read of policy 3220. I am assuming everyone had a chance to look at that. Did anyone have questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
No, none at this time.
No, okay. Advisory vote from our students?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve first read of policy 3223?
You mean 3220?
3220.
Did I do, I'm on the next page,
I'll motion to
3220,
approve
sorry.
First read of 3220.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that one passes. Now 3223. Questions or comments on that one?
No questions.
No. Advisory vote? Yes. Can I get a motion to approve the first read of policy 3223?
Motion to approve first read of policy 3223.
It's a hard
We're
one.
all having trouble.
Yeah, almost transposed.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Second read of policy 3126. Any comments or questions on that one? No. No. Advisory vote?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve second read of policy 3126?
I make a motion to approve the second read of policy 3126.
Easier to say that one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Second read of policy 3110. Anyone have questions or comments about that one? No.
No questions.
Advisory vote?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve second read of policy 3110?
I make a motion to approve policy number 3110.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? right. So for May, we have 4,000, which should be 4001 to change the sequence number, and then 4020. All right, superintendent's report.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into that. General update. Haven't talked about the changing stations in the locker rooms for a while. That's an example of something we decided to do. It wasn't in the budget. Middle school girls' locker room is done. Changing stations are in there, and we're still working through the rest. And I'll just keep you posted. Not gonna be done by the time I'm gone, but they're done at the girls' school, middle school's locker room. Roofs will start construction at Sultan Elementary and Gold Bar when school is out. The exact pecking order of that, we'll give you more update on that in June. But that's, again, part of the capital levy that was pushed out for completion of this building and cash flow purposes. Sultan Middle School, well, actually, and Dan, make sure my dates are correct. Your summer food service program is gonna run through June 30th through July 17th. It'll coincide with Summer Academy at the high school and ESY at Sultan Elementary School. So we coordinate with the Boys and Girls Club. There's not great attendance, but it is a program that we offer for those that wanna take care, and I think anybody that's up to age 18 can eat for free if they so choose. Middle school, the Pass the Torch Assembly is gonna be on June 11th at 8 a.m. for 8th grade. End of the year concert is that night. Choir starts at 6 p.m., band at 7 p.m. June 12th is the honors social, and that is at 5 p.m. June 16th is 8th grade promotion at 5 p.m. We just had our audit exit conference for a couple of calendar years, came out clean. I think Gigi that was May 15th. No issues, participated in that. Good job
Michael was on there
to
also.
Dan and his team. You were there, Michael?
Yeah.
Sorry.
He was.
I was in a car traveling in the middle of it, but the bottom line is it was a good audit. And the amount of work of questions that have to be answered by our finance team and documents that are tracked and stuff, it is on our website. The results of that are in, I don't know what you call the part that flips, whatever that is, in the main frame that changes. That is there for anybody to see, but it was a good, clean audit, no findings, et cetera. I took last Thursday our coffee group, that Coffee with the City. We did a field trip to the high school to visit, just see what it's like. Everybody hears about it. And so we went and visited English classes, math classes, and shop classes, and it was fun. Taking a group of folks, some haven't probably been in the high school for decades, to be honest with you. And it was really a good experience, and they got to see a group of really good kids. And the things you hear sometimes are, kids don't get along sometimes, and that's true. But it was great to be able to take them and show them any class that we wanted to walk into. We were gonna go to 2 buildings, but after one, the trip was over, worn out. And but it was fun to go, so I was really happy to take that group. We went a couple years ago to Gold Bar. We were gonna stop by Sultan Elementary, but because they were testing and everybody was just kind of was done after one visit to the high school, we ended it. So that was a good, fun thing to do. And that's it. Oh, Chris Granger, Dr. Granger, and I have been, we talk frequently, trying to give him as much access to district staff and district operations as we can, because it's complex, there's a lot of moving parts. When he's in the district, Kayla's often set up meetings for people, he's trying to learn about the people, learn about the systems. He's gone to a cabinet meeting, he's done, I think our last administrators meeting at the high school, visited classrooms, he's been more involved in the assistant principals hirings than I am. And I think today was the middle school, I'm not sure who they rested on. Friday, we were interviewing for payroll specialist, and I think Monday is the high school assistant principal. And so he's been highly engaged in that, and you just have to, really have to hit the ground running best you can. And it's very complex, and Jeff talked a little bit, and it's interesting about test scores and this, that, and the other. I mean, the thing to remember is you're working with human beings, and they're all a little bit different. Trying to get this all shaped in a way that moves in the right direction to meet all individual needs is tricky business. It's not like you build a chimney every day and you get to see that built half of the chimney today and it's there in the same form the next day. When you're working with people and the complexities of people, it changes. And so he's trying to learn as much as he can before he's taken over here real quickly, full-time.
One of the sessions I went to at the NASBA conference in Atlanta was about, it was a couple of them, like the superintendent transition. And they said the more you can get that new person in the district before they actually start, they said, because normally it's you take the first year and you learn everything and then you make changes, but when you can be in the district beforehand, you're like a step ahead and you don't have to wait that year before you do stuff. So I think it's great that we're able to get him in here as much as we.
And the new director of finance will be in either tomorrow or the next day. Going to be here to help interview a payroll specialist and speaking with him quite a bit on systems and processes and tools. And so trying to get everybody as up to speed as you can before the real thing happens. And so it's been, for me personally, it's been rewarding. Thankful for the opportunity over the last 18 years. It's the right move for the district and for me to retire and sort of unretire for an interim position, but it's the right thing, and I'm excited for new challenges and thankful for the opportunity. Met a lot of really good people, and I think you guys will, just talk to the administrators in the cabinet and said, embrace change, it's coming. When you've been here as long as I have, some things need to change, and that's inevitable. And so I just told them to embrace it.
Great, thank you. So we have a 15-minute executive session, so let's come back at 7:55. That gives 9 minutes to get everybody cleared and out. And then we'll go for 15 minutes. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn to executive session for 15 minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So 7:55 we'll start. That gives Kayla